today with Veronica Figueroa, team leader of the Fig Team, selling 2,000 plus homes a year. Veronica, great to have you here
Thanks for having me.
for sure. Veronica, I want people to get to know who you are before we dive into some business. So, without mentioning any of your professional accomplishments, which are a lot, um, how would you describe yourself, or what can you tell us about Veronica Figueroa?
Yeah, oh gosh, took me a long time to realize I was more than real estate, but yeah, I'm a mom. I'm a mom of five amazing kids. I'm a wife. I been married to my husband almost 17 years, and we have the honor of being able to build together and grow together. I grew up a military brat. I was kind of talking to my mom the other day. I was like, you kind of traumatized me with all the moving we did, right? I was always on the go as a kid, and as an adult, I'm kind of still on the go. But yeah, I just, I'm a family woman, and I love my family. They motivate me every single day. I'm Puerto Rican. I grew up in Germany. I
It's
graduated
interesting.
college, and I have a degree in human resources and accounting. Actually, a lot of people don't know that. A business degree and with a minor in human resources and accounting. And yeah, man, I just, my previous life before real estate, I did hospitality, human resources, and I would help people develop in their career. And, I've been able to shift that into my career here. But yeah, I just love good food. I love traveling. I love music. I love to dance. And yeah, I'm just the girl from the block who just, came out here trying to make a little bit of money to provide for my kids. Then here we are 20 years later in a career that I would have never dreamed of that turned into such a blessing. So happy to help any way I can.
Awesome, love it. No, thank you for sharing that. How did you get started in real estate?
So real estate, um, kind of happened by accident. A friend of mine asked me to take the real estate exam because he was, wanting to do it. And I had just graduated and I really wasn't working yet in my career. I was in between my job and, I said, sure, I have nothing else to do. I'll go ahead and take it. What's one more thing I can add to my resume? And I've told this story many times. And I passed it, but I didn't really want to do anything with it. I wanted to just focus in my career choice, which is human resources. And my friend didn't pass his exam at the time. That's an inside joke that we always had. Um, but real estate was good in Orlando at the time, but 9/11 happened. So I was like, I'm definitely not doing real estate because, the world's falling apart. I got my license the day after 9/11. I was
Wow.
studying for a test. I remember on 9/11, I would remember I was like, had my highlighters out, my book out, and then you just see the news and that feeling and, wanting to go and pick my kids up from school and wanting to like know like what's going to happen. Real estate was furthest from my mind. But I ended up
Right.
taking the test the next day and I passed it. And, I just said, well, I'm not going to do anything with it. And I just ignored it. Worked in my HR career. And then when I went through a divorce when I was 25 or something like that, I needed to supplement my income. And I just said, well, what if I used my real estate license as a part time supplemental income? And within 3 months, I quickly fell in love with it. I was naturally good at, I would say, prospecting and asking
Okay.
people for business and getting people
Right.
to trust me. So I'm like over here trying to like work and dodge calls and like negotiate and do all this stuff. So that's how I kind of got into it. And quickly realized I was like, damn, I really like this. This is, I love helping people. It's aligned with my passion in my current career, because I just love helping people and educating them and showing them the way and seeing them, get the result that they want, very similar to career placement. I said, what if I did this full time? What if I just gave it my all? And I took the leap of faith and I quit my job, mind you, single mother now, divorced, and I quit my job. But I had a couple deals,
Yeah.
that closed. And I was like, let me just be frugal. Let me just hit the phones hard. Let me just do this. And I never looked back. I
That's
just
awesome.
never looked back, and here I am today, 18 years later, like full time and just a life that I absolutely am grateful for because I've learned so much about myself and about the business, and I get to have had an impact on thousands of people's lives that I get to help. So yeah, it's been a fun ride, man. It's a people business. It's not that hard, but it's a mindset game too. And I just really focused on people and developing my mind to get better and better and better.
Right.
And every day I show up hoping to get better. But yeah, that's my real estate, how I got started.
That's awesome. So, I mean, in this 18 years, obviously, you had quite a journey in real estate. You're not where you are. You're not where you are today, where you started. Can you take us a little quick through that journey?
Yeah, well, 2005 was definitely a really interesting time to enter the real estate market. Kind of feels like a little like COVID, right? It was like there was opportunities everywhere, and all of a sudden 2006, 7, 8 come, and it's like you get whiplash. You're like, wait, what happened? Like it went from being a good market to a challenging market, and I had to learn short sales, REOs. I had to, learn new things. It's felt like every season I had to learn something new. I was just thinking I was just going to help buyers and sellers. I got to learn short sales. I got to learn modifications. I got to learn REOs. I got to learn BPOs. And then it's like, wait, I have to farm because I have to get farming agent now that the REOs are drying up. I have to learn online lead gen. I have to like build a team. So it's like different phases of our career.
Right.
I could literally go from each year and rip a page out and say, this was chapter short sale. This was chapter REO. This was chapter buying a franchise, starting a team, building an online lead gen team. Oh, running a real team versus a loose team with no standards, right? Every single chapter of my career, I've learned something that has allowed me to continue to grow and to learn about the industry and help others navigate through those challenges because we've gone through it. So everything from farming to REOs to building a team to becoming one of the agents, the first agents on Zillow's Advisory Board, well, Latina on, and then being on their board for 7 years and being able to be a part of tech initiatives. It's
That's
been a
awesome.
wild ride. Like
Yeah.
every season has taught me something. And I just continue to see the industry evolve. And I've had a front row seat in it because I went all in the industry. And I kind of created my own pathway of saying, I need to know this. I'm going to be the best at it. I'm going to know the right people and I'm going to ask the right questions and what doors do I need to knock down? And because I want to build something of substance. So that's really been my journey throughout my entire professional career.
That's awesome. So I'm sure with that ride comes a lot of challenges, right, and a lot of learning lessons. What would you say has been maybe your biggest challenge, right, that you faced, and how did you overcome that or push through that?
You know, um, it's funny. I I really feel that the biggest challenge that I've made, the biggest challenge I had was not understanding the importance of working on myself while building a business.
Mm,
I neglected myself for a long time and I was just in the grind, the hustle, but I wasn't working on my mental health, my relationships, my personal development. So for a while, I was just on this rat race of just doing, and just, looking for that next deal, but I never really
right.
understood why I was doing it. And I know that's kind of like a vague statement. And I'll give you some examples of some other challenges that I made. But if I were to go back and say, what now that I know what I know, a lot of the challenges that I had was I didn't have um, a true personal development plan for myself to develop as a leader in this industry early on enough. So I made a lot of mistakes, costly mistakes. I didn't have the business acumen on hiring the right people, financial structure when I first started out building. I didn't have the mentorship, the proper mentorship at the time. I fell into the cycles of what, the real estate industry kind of makes you believe, the whole happy hours, this, the that. And, the truth is that, I now recognize if I would have gotten that right earlier on, I would have been way further in my career. But I'm grateful that I had to go through that journey myself. Because if I would have worked on my personal development early on, I would have made better leadership decisions. I would have made some better decisions on boundaries. I would have made some better decisions on hiring and also letting people go when it was time, when they were no longer aligned. But that lack of development cost me a lot of mistakes. It made me make a lot of mistakes and cost me a lot of money. Hindsight now, I realize I needed to go through that. But if I could have done something different, I would have worked on personal development. Like people say to me, hey, should I pay money on leads or should I pay money on coaching? To me, or on personal development, if you have the right personal development and the right mindset, you're going to know how to generate leads because you're going to do what you have to do to generate the leads.
Right.
Where a lot of times it was reverse. And I think as I reflect back on my business was, man, if I would have just worked on that area of my business a little earlier, I would have been a little bit further ahead. Now, with that being said, of course, like I said, wrong hires, chasing every rabbit, trying to chase every shiny object that everybody was chasing. If you go to a conference and someone said that they're doing this, you come back and you're like, well, I want to do that too. Not
Right.
knowing if you're equipped for it, if you're ready for it, if you're prepped for it, if you have the budget for it. So I made a lot of those sloppy mistakes. And another thing was not knowing my business and not really measuring it the way it should have been measured early on. And it wasn't until I developed that professional maturity that my business, changed. My business suffered up until that moment. I was good. Like I said, I could close deals with my eyes closed, but it was the running the business aspect of it that I wasn't as advanced as I should have been because I waited a long time to get the right professional help to guide me. But once I got that, it was game changer. Leadership change, quality of people you hire change, finances change, mindset changed. And it was just like, wow, if I would have known sooner. But here we are.
Here we are. We live and learn. Awesome. No, I mean, I love that we're talking about personal development. I have a question about that, but before we get there, you kind of just talked about professional maturity, and right, and a lot of things changed when you got the right help. Kind of, what is you think the thing that you did that had the biggest impact?
Um, I finally decided to be coachable and get my
Mm.
own ego out of the way. I used to blame a lot of people for why things weren't happening. And I had to kind of have that recognition of like, hey, look in the mirror. What are you doing? What do you own? What's the personal responsibility? Nobody's stealing from you. It's not anybody's fault that you had holes in your business or this. It's your fault because you're the owner, you're the business owner. You got to take personal responsibility. What could you have done better? Look in the mirror. Where do you kind of own your actions and your flaws? And I was like, oh man, that's true. Like I should have done this better. I would have been more present here. So I just kind of had that moment where I was like, I remember the first few coaching calls I had with one of my coaches. All I did was just complain about other people. And he said to me one day, he says, when you're ready to start owning your outcomes, he says, your life is going to change.
That's
And
powerful. Yeah.
I was like, "What do you mean? Like I'm the goat. Like you're supposed to
Yeah.
side with me. Like I'm this." And he's like, "You have no idea your potential and what you can accomplish if you just stopped looking for outside blame and just look within." And it was like, "Oh my God, it is true. I hired that person, so it's my fault. I gave that person, access to this without having a good, buttoned up agreement or this or that, or I, was overspending here. Like I have
Right.
to take personal responsibility." So I had to have this moment where I was like, check my ego and be like, girl, like you are responsible for the outcome, no one else. And that was a game changer for me. And then if I knew that I could be responsible for the outcome, that meant I can make decisions and not be emotionally tied to, like blaming other people. It was like I can only blame myself. So I would just push myself to be better for myself and for the people around me. And it just changed everything. It changed everything. No one can, no one is responsible for your success other than yourself. There are
Right.
people who come in and they play a role and they, contribute, but at the end of the day, you only have yourself to blame for the things that go wrong. Now, the things that go well, I don't take credit for. I look at everybody who contributed to it, where it was flip flopped. I would blame everybody and I would claim all the success back then, where it had to flip flop. I have to take ownership for the faults. That's my sole responsibility. But the wins, who contributed to it, and how do we make sure that they also are recognized and appreciated and loved. So it was just this whole mindset shift for me, and it really opened up a lot of, I would say, opportunities, because we started operating in flow, you know,
Mm.
things just started to flow. And, we went from being a team that would sell 175 homes to 300 to 400 to 500 to 800 homes to 2,000 homes, because we just had a completely different shift in mindset.
At what point in your career did that happen, if you
Mm,
recall?
yeah. Right around 2018, 19 was where it really like propelled to the next level, where I just said I made a decision. I was already selling about 400 homes, but we had been 370, 400 a year. And it was great. It was great.
Right.
But I had really big dreams and I wanted to do more. So it was like, how do I break through that number and like kind of break the 500? And then, we did 800, and then there's 1,000. We wanted 1,000 and we sold 2,000. It's just, you're just one decision away from your life changing. And oftentimes it's just small little changes that you have to make that are going to really like help your business. And people might ask, well, what did you do? Well, I looked in myself. I said, am I the type of leader that I would follow?
Mm.
And if I said
Love
no to
that question.
myself, I started changing some of the things. So I stopped drinking. I started working on my mindset. I started working on the people that I wanted to hire. I got rid of people who were no longer aligned with the vision. Not rid of, I just said, let's free each other's future up, right? Because I don't like to say the word. I think we gave permission to each other to say, look, this is an alignment. Let's
Right.
make sure you're in alignment, because when people are in alignment, they do good work. When they're not, it's friction. So I released anybody who I felt was not in alignment. I started casting better visions for the team. Like, hey, this is where we want to go. I started going after big conglomerate accounts. I started saying, I don't want one listing. I want 10 from the same person who can give me multiple listings. How can I get them? So I would pick up the phone and I would build relationships with like Zillows and, big companies and say, hey, listen, I got systems, operations. And when I got good, I realized I talk a really good game and people are going to give me their business. Now I got to get great. How do I do so? I have to hire great people. So it was during the pandemic. I knew I needed a really good operator. I had had operators in the past. They did a good job up until the next level. But the level we were about to embark on was going to be a game changer. I needed to build the biggest and the most successful real estate operation, not biggest, but one of the most successful um, operations team ever seen. I knew that was my mission. I wanted to be one of the best tech innovative teams. So I hired a data scientist on my team, and I did things that most people wouldn't do, because I knew some of the big accounts that I was going to be working with were going to have high accountability. Well, most real estate agents, they know how to drive traffic, but they suck at accountability.
Mm.
I knew I wanted to have someone that was as obsessed with data as I was with people and developing. So I went out and I sought out to build a operations team that was one of the best in the country. And I built around flex models. I built around compensation models. I built around ISAs, segmenting and building the team to have specialists and segmenting the responsibilities. And then everybody knew what everybody was supposed to do. Like the data was telling us a story. It was no longer intuition. And that's how we built out efficiencies in our business to scale to sell 2,000 homes with a roster of like 75 to 80 people. And while also allowing me to build other organizations in my world and other business models. So it was just, one of those things that I had to like make some really bold decisions, but that's how I think. I think bigger. I'm always thinking in the future. Real estate is just a vessel that allows me to do it. And then I got to just challenge the status quo. We ended up being instant offer, the exclusive partners with, other companies that had lots of listings. We became a recruiting machine. We became a branding machine. We became an operations machine. And it was just one opportunity that, we took a shot at that ended up being a score. And we learned so much. And our team has had so much fun challenging themselves and learning and seeing what they could do. And today we have success coaches. Today we have directors of operations. We have an amazing ISA team. We have partners all over the country. We are called a consultant. People call us to consult to help them build their teams out and efficiencies and standards and operating agreements and what's their follow-up boss, what's our 52-week campaign look like, what's our drip campaign look like, what's our recruiting campaign look like, what's our agent accountability and retention look like, and just all the different things that we do have pushed us to think like a business real estate operator at a high level.
Awesome. I love it. Now, when you were talking about kind of having this vision for having a great operations team, right? Did you kind of, considering also the budget that is involved in putting that in place, for folks who want to grow, did you think of your operations team and employ them all into place, or was it a crawl, walk, run type of approach to build your operations team?
It was definitely a crawl, walk, run. Anyone who's hearing this, I don't want them to think, oh my God, I'm gonna go hire a data scientist. No, you may be strong in that suit. Like, so you might be that person that likes more behind the scenes, and maybe you just need that sales director who's gonna rah, 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 get your people going, get them inspired. You know your strengths and your weaknesses. Mine was I can move people, I can attract, I can build a brand. I'm a lead generation machine, but I didn't like managing people. I didn't like managing data. I didn't like the part of the business of the day to day in the systems, in the weeds. I needed someone that enjoyed that. But I
Right.
want that information from them. And I want it to be quick, digestible, and easy for me to interpret so I can make quick decisions.
Makes sense.
Where if it was too complex for me, then I'm like, oh my God, it was easy to pull the wool over my eyes and be like, oh, I'll get to that later. Where I knew I needed that number two in my life to help me do that. But it took time. I had to make enough mistakes to realize that. And the first hire I ever had was an assistant. The second hire was, a TC, and then it was a field service person, and then it was a photographer. Then it was like we had phases in our business. And there were times I had a TC helping me run our team up to 400 transactions a year that was virtual. They weren't even on payroll. They were
Wow.
just in perpetuity. And then as my business was going to the next level, I knew, okay, that isn't going to get me to 1,000. I needed in-house TC that solely specialized with the FIG team. And, also, is it going to integrate to SkySlope when they open a file? Is it going to integrate here? And I had to build systems around that for efficiencies, because now we're doing 60 to 70 files a month. And how can I keep a skeleton staff while not overspending, but making sure the efficiencies are there, that if
Right.
this
Make sure it's
happens,
efficient.
all these things happen. So I had these visions, but I was like, it's going to take me time to get there. So we're going to do some things some bootleg way a little bit until we could get it, built out the way we want. So there were different phases of our business. And one day
Right.
I was like, one day I'd love to have a success coach. One day I'd love to have a videographer. One day I'd love to have someone who can deal with the day to day, and I just come in and inspire everybody. Like, so all of this has been a phase. It's been 10, 12 years in the making. It wasn't overnight, but it doesn't have to take as long as it took me, because now people can come in and learn from the mistakes we've made and do it faster, quicker,
Right.
right? And be super successful. And not everyone needs to sell thousands of homes. You can run a really great team selling 200 homes a year, 150 homes a year, 300 homes a year with a really great operations team, a marketer, a good admin, and a team leader, and you can crush it
Right.
and be super profitable. My world is just pretty massive, but if I could do it all over again, of course, I would say maybe there was some overspending at times. Maybe there were some mistakes I made, because I started growing my team in a time where teams were still very new. We were all
Mhm.
trying to figure it out. No one had truly cracked the code on
Right.
Teams. I don't think anyone has truly cracked the code on it, because I've had different versions of my team. But I do want to encourage people to say, you should take a look inside your business. Be honest with yourself. Do the SWOT analysis. What are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats? Where should you put your energy? Where's the areas that you know that there's gaps in your business? Hire to those gaps. Don't look at it as a weakness. Look at it as someone else's strength. And then you guys can move a little bit further and faster. And then you can get the, you can get to the next phase of your growth. Maybe it's that one admin who's can help alleviate you and give you some leverage. Maybe it's that videographer. Maybe it's that field service person. It just depends on where your business is at. But definitely, it's not an overnight thing.
Awesome. I love that. You mentioned earlier personal development. I'm all about personal development, and I think it's definitely critical in our business. You mentioned having a personal development plan early in your career. What does that look like? What does that even mean for some folks?
Personal development. What does it look like for
What does it
others?
look like having a plan? Like, as a realtor, as someone in the industry, what does it look like having a personal development plan? What does that look like for someone?
I think it starts with having a choice, making a choice that you really are going to commit to it. Personal development is not something that happens overnight. You're going to embark on this journey. You're going to commit to doing things that, probably are outside of your comfort zone. And there are going to be days you slip up, but it's the commitment that you're going to get back on track. You're going to be honest. You're going to measure where you could have probably done better, and you recommit and you go one step further the next day. And a lot of times people think personal development is like, oh, I'm doing this, all of a sudden I'm a changed person. No, you change throughout the process, and you become a better version of yourself every single day as you work through this new commitment that you've established. For example, me, it was like I was overweight, I was depressed, I was an alcoholic. I made a choice that I wasn't going to live like that anymore. Right, that was part of my personal development journey. Mine was also, how do I make sure my family realizes that real estate is not before them? And, working on my marriage and how I communicated with people. One of my struggles was I don't like friction. I don't like friction. I rather avoid you if I feel like there's a problem. Naturally, that's my toxic trait. I realized that through my personal development, I needed to be a bigger person and lean into uncomfortable conversations and say, look, regardless of the outcome, I love you. I want this to work, but I also understand that we have to be honest with ourselves. And, this is an area where I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'd love permission to give you my feedback, and I'd love for you to give me the same. And I would have never had that opportunity to grow up and mature if I didn't work on personal development and just say, like, hey, in life you have to work on yourself, but you have to know that it's a process. And give yourself permission to know that it's not always going to be good days. But I think it starts with a choice, finding the right leadership or mentorship or coaching or support group that is able to guide you based on maybe what their life looks like. Do they inspire you? Do they are they living the life that you want to kind of live? Then that might be a good personal development platform for you, right? Or coach for you. Maybe it's Tony Robbins, maybe it's John Maxwell, maybe it's your church group, maybe it, there's so many different
Right.
opportunities for people to. I personally, I have a therapist, I have a coach. Actually, I have more than one coach, and I have some really positive women in my world and other couples that I had to walk away from a life that I knew from before that was in that moment I didn't realize toxic for me. And personal development, you have to make sure that when you go on this journey, you're okay with knowing that you're going to make some tough decisions. What do those tough decisions look like? Maybe no longer being friends with people that are not on that same path. Cutting out old habits that you 100% think have to be a part of your life. Um, Realizing that maybe what you're doing isn't what you want to do and that you could rewrite it and redesign it. And what does that look like? It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. You're going to be laughed at. People are going to make fun of you. People are going to challenge you. People are going to say you're crazy. But as long as you know what you're looking to build, you have to stay so true to your commitment and to your promise to yourself. To me, that's what personal development looks like. And I have cried more nights by myself when I went on that personal development journey than I have ever before. But it was because I knew a rebirth was happening. I was becoming someone completely different. And it happened for me in a way that when my personal life got in order, and I'm still dealing with my personal life, by the way, it's not perfect. But when my personal life started to get better in order, my business life got great. When my personal life is out of order, my business gets a little out of order. They go hand in hand,
Right.
at least in this career.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm gonna ask you one more question and then a few rapid fire questions to kind of wrap up. What's next for you? You said there's a lot of phases in your journey, and we continue to grow. So what's next for Veronica?
For me, it's I want to help more teams really grow their teams. I want to help women in this space, with women in business, and really understanding that they are not alone and that they can be driven women and still have a community of women that support them. And I want to really inspire people with knowing that they can get started, like just because they might feel like they haven't maybe conquered or dominated their social media presence, or maybe they're not where they're at in their production, that they can make a choice and they can get started and I can show them how. So really excited about helping people in 2023 with that, and some coaching programs that we have rolling out together while growing our team. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I know I'm expected to want more, but I actually plan on doing less to be able to do things of more substance.
That
I
makes
feel
sense.
like I don't have to prove myself anymore.
Right.
I accomplished something that a lot of people wish they would have accomplished. And I now recognize that I don't have to sit here and say, let me prove that I can do bigger and better. Right now, I want to just make an impact and help people, help them become number one, and whatever that looks like in their life. And I'm in a good place, man. Just,
I love that. That's awesome. A few
thank
rapid
you.
fire questions to wrap this up. If you were starting your real estate career today, modern technology, modern economy, what would you focus on?
I would join a team.
Okay, cool. What advice would you give to folks who are looking to build a team or start a brokerage?
Um, Make sure you have a recruiting plan in place.
Okay, and last one,
Recruiting is a lifeline of every team. Wait, recruiting is a lifeline of every team and every brokerage. And the previous question, when you asked if I was starting out, I'd join a team. And also, you have to be on social media video.
awesome, love that. And your big message to all real estate professionals.
No one is responsible for your success. Don't blame anyone. It's all comes down to your actions. Show me your calendar and your habits, and I'll show you if you're going to be a successful agent.
I love that. Thank you so much, Veronica Figueroa, ladies and gentlemen. Veronica, thank you so much. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
everybody got a lot out of it today. And hopefully, we'll do another one soon.
Happy to help anytime.
Have a good one.
You too.